My name is Nick Soutter. Thank you for joining us on Overtime. Unfortunately, as predicted, there has been a dramatic increase in the targeting of civilians. We're going to be discussing that in a moment. I am getting a bit of an echo in my headset, and it is mildly distracting, although I think I've identified the source. So I'll get to that in a minute if I can. Meanwhile, yeah, that's it. That'll do it. One of the things that makes, I think, Overtime special, there's a lot of things. First of it all, it's largely community driven. I act a bit more as a curator than anything else. But we also, I think, get a little more in depth into certain stories than you're going to usually see in the news. I like to think that we get you some of what's behind the scenes and what's really going on. We do opinion. When we do that, we let you know that we're doing opinion. And we are more nimble, actually, than a number of the larger network news sources. And I believe, my understanding is that we went live with the invasion before, thank you, Titan, before any U.S. news organization. And it certainly wouldn't be the first time. I'm not sure that we have, and I haven't had the time to go see. But it certainly wouldn't be the first time we've beaten national or even world stories, and we've beaten U.S. news. But one of the other things that we do is we will show you things that you're not going to see anywhere else. There are benefits and downsides to that. One downside is we get demonetized. About half our shows are demonetized based on what we show you. And the other thing is it can be very difficult. So this is going to be one of those shows. I'm going to try to warn you before we get into anything truly difficult, but we are going to cover it and we're going to see it. So that's just a warning ahead of time. Unfortunately, what we're covering here is very difficult, and there's no way to accurately understand what's going on without accurately showing you what's going on. So we will get into that. It appears as if Russia has now captured the city of Kherson. We have footage of that. It has been absolutely brutal, and they have apparently been deliberately destroying homes and targeting civilians. We did predict that this would happen. We got into how and why. I would much rather have been wrong about this. Russia has made it clear that they are not targeting civilians, would never target civilians, and yada, yada, yada. And they also have made it clear that their weapons are the most accurate weapons on the planet. Well, but both of those statements cannot be true. I wouldn't, if you're going to sit there and say that you're not targeting civilians, and sit there and say that your weapon accuracy is full of shit, because you're going to have to explain why you're clearly targeting civilians. The 40-mile column that has been headed towards Kiev has been stalled, and we don't know how or why. At last report, they were 10 miles out, but that was 12 hours ago. They easily could have made it. They were going extraordinarily slow, and we have reason to believe at this point that one of the biggest reasons, well, not one of the biggest reasons, let me rephrase that. One of the reasons is because some of them, they're having fuel difficulties, which we anticipated, and we explained how and why on that, and it may be worth getting a bit more into where the strategy is broken down here. But it looks like in some cases they're sabotaging their own fuel tanks, which suggests that they're starting to understand the gravity of what is going on around them, and in an effort to avoid being involved, they are doing everything they can to avoid the battles. If that's the case, that gives you some insight into their morale. What we do know at this point is this is a list. We don't know this, actually, I should say. This is from Amnesty International. This is the current list of suspected war crimes. Today, we do believe that they have detonated what would be a second hyperbaric attack. I'm going to need to remember the terminology. I'm going to have to start putting post-it notes on some of the terms that I'm most likely to forget when I'm tired. But we have an image of that. It certainly does look like one of those detonations. It looks like it was done on an air base. 80 people are reported killed. We knew of this attack, but what we did not know was that it appeared to be the hyperbaric weapon. If so, we believe at this point it would be the second time they've deployed it. We did capture, or the Ukrainians captured, one of the vehicles capable of delivering this. That would mean there's another in the area. This is footage purportedly from today. It is that detonation in what is a Ukrainian military base. It looks like nobody survived. That's kind of the point of this weapon. So let's... nope, that is not it. I'm not going to play that just yet. Sorry, not all of the footage has come in exactly where and when I wanted it. There's a torrent of stuff coming in. What I will show you actually now is this is I believe Kharkiv, which is suffering just dramatic shelling, and what you're going to see now is tanks striking. They are clearly in civilian territory. To the best of my ability to discern, they're not under attack even by the resistance forces, and they are at this point targeting civilian homes. They're targeting apartments, and they target the person who is taking this footage, as you will see. Oh, and yeah, let me see if I can fix that audio issue before we go any further. That's somewhat unlikely given the nature of how this is set up. Jake 4D was good enough to remind me about this, but it's just been one thing after another. Let's just see if I can do that, because I know it's frustrating to have. So the audio there, that would be why. So I can minimize some of the effects here of the audio problems. That's 123. There we go. This should fix the audio there, and should fix the audio there, and I'll just go as I go. So let's see this footage. You can see the tank here. It's targeting civilians. You're going to see it shooting. And that reminds me, there was one piece of video. One of the problems is I just need to get more organized. In sort of a no, I'll save that one. I may start to go into a rundown in a minute, because the Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu announced today that Russia will host the first ever International Anti-Fascist Conference in August of 2022. Shortly thereafter, NATO invented the first ever Lack of Self-Awareness Conference. Highlighting the conference will be Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, whatever his name is. I honestly don't care right now. Dear Lord. On top of that here, and we do have this really from Titan, and I think this is the we have that ballsy, stupid but ballsy, and this what was the line? The new Ukrainian motto should at this point be, "That which doesn't kill you should run fucking fast." We also have all right, I think in order to do this in the order that it needs to be done, we're going to do the hardest video first. Now, this video is in two parts. We're going to show the first part. Now, the first part is difficult to watch. It's 2 minutes. I don't know that I'm going to let it run the full 2 minutes once I start it. If watching innocent people killed is something that you would rather not see today, then you're going to have to, once I start this, go down for about 2 minutes. It's not particularly gory up until a point, and past that point I will probably turn it off. This is only the first half. The second half we're not going to air. It's an extraordinarily difficult video, but the reason it's important is this is a civilian vehicle. It is clearly a civilian vehicle. It is not attacking anyone. It is fleeing the convoy. It is going in the other direction and comes under heavy fire. It was a father, son, and their dog. The son, we believe, survived. So again, it's about 2 minutes. I think we try to avoid showing stuff like this, but at this point you need to see what they are doing. This is not an accident. So we're going to play this video now. as I said, I think if this is going to be a problem, you should not watch. Roughly 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Oh, and actually, yeah. All right, we have the audio issue, so I'm going to need 1 second. I do apologize. That's 163. So 163. That should solve the audio. And here we go.
Бля,
Pulled.
назад мы не сдамо. Твою мать! Ебать, твою мать! Ляй, выходь, ляй, нахуй! Пап! Выходь, лягай, чуешь чи ні? Назад, назад давай, вправо туда ныряй. Выходь, лягай, выходь. Пап! Папа! Ебать!
I'm going to stop it there. These are civilians. There was absolutely no way they could be mistaken for military. The son does appear to have survived. I think that's as far as we can go with the video. All right. What else are they doing? We've already shown this video in a breaking news that we did as soon as it became clear that they're targeting civilians. I think that's the worst footage we're going to show. So we're going to show a lot more combat footage. You're not going to see close up what's happening, but we'll show you what they're doing. That's all outside of Kharkiv. This as well. This is clearly shelling. It was shortly after this that they said that their weapons are the most accurate in the world and they're not targeting civilians. One of those statements has to be false. These are all civilian buildings, to the best of my understanding. This is massive shelling. This certainly isn't targeted or directed at anyone. That was a column, or a column. That may be the convoy. All right, this is a school, I believe, if I recall correctly, in Kharkiv. This is a survey of the damage in Kharkiv as well. This was the missile strike on the government headquarters. This is a civilian building. It housed the civilian government. See it being struck by a missile there. As overwhelming frustration with this has grown, these are Ukrainians standing off with at least one convoy. A soldier gets out and begins to threaten them. The threats have, at this point, absolutely no impact. They don't even slow these people down. So this is a Russian convoy that has been blockaded by civilians literally standing in front of it, unarmed civilians literally standing in front of it, and they're trying to get these civilians to move.
Оккупанты! Оккупанты! Домой! Домой! Мы безоружные! Фашисты! Вы будете по мирным стрелять? По мирным! У нас нет оружия!
So, having taken Crimea, having threatened this country, having been subverting the Donbass area for years, it appears that Ukrainians have finally said they have had enough and they are willing to sacrifice their entire country to stop this. which if is anything is going to stop a World War III, it is these people right here, right now, because if they succeed in taking Ukraine, there's more countries next. I don't think he's going to stop here. And anyone who says that they think he was wrong about thinking, I guarantee you was wrong about thinking that he was going to invade in the first place. So if there isn't going to be a World War III, it's going to be because of the courage of these people. This is a naval academy that was also struck last night. We also know that the civilian television broadcast station was hit. This is that attack. A number of these are already going down as purported war crimes, and we do have. I'm sorry, I can't find it. The footage from the detonation. It really looks like it's the detonation of yet another, what would be the second hyperbaric bomb. Apparently, it was at least. One says deployed in at a military base. It has the signature mushroom cloud, and the person who recorded it was extraordinarily lucky. The shockwave did hit him shortly after the blast, but he looks to have been okay. I'm not sure this is okay. This shouldn't. No, this is actually though. This is that vehicle. This is the vehicle that is capable. That's not it. I think it's going to come up alongside the vehicle that actually fires those blasts. If somebody has the footage from the purported second hyperbaric detonation, that one was done at the daytime, so that's different. If somebody's got that handy and can either drop it in the Discord or send it to me, that would be a huge help at this point. But that I don't think that's the vehicle. We're going to see it come up on the right of that one. That may be it. I can't even identify them anymore. No, oh, I'm sorry. This may be. I think these are tanks on their way to taking that city. I don't know much about the yield on that. What they're saying is a thermobaric bomb, which would mean it was ostensibly deployed from an airplane. The vehicles that we're seeing are capable of essentially doing it with missiles. I'm unaware. We do have footage of the testing of these kinds of weapons, and the amount of damage that they can do rapidly is astonishing. Let's see if I can bring up one of the test footage. Nope, that one's down. All right, no, I think what I'm going to do, let's just see here. This was posted February 23rd on Sputnik television. Moscow has no plans for aggression. It has never attacked anyone in its history, Kremlin spokesman says. That's February 23rd, 2022. This is the vehicle in question that we are talking about. This is a captured one. We believe at this point there's a second one. We've spotted a number of them, and we have shown some footage prior of them. Now, the EU today met to accelerate, first to approve, and then ostensibly to accelerate the entrance of the Ukraine into EU. I don't know what that means at this point. I have to believe that any wars that exist between a country and any other countries as it enters the EU are not grandfathered in. You can't necessarily hold a country responsible for attacking an EU country if they weren't in the EU when the battle started. So while there's been some talk of as soon as they're in the EU, this is over, I don't think that's necessarily true. I don't know what legal grounds you'd have for that. I don't know what the EU process is for that. There is work to now try to get Ukraine integrated into the EU power grid as quickly as possible. They're saying that's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks. No word on how quickly to get them into the EU, except soon. Actually, one word precisely, soon. It's been approved. Normally, there's a process for what they call ascension into the EU, but it looks like as much of that process that can be bypassed is going to be bypassed, and they will be put into the EU as quickly as possible. The last thing I'm concerned about is I am curious to know what's going to happen with Crimea. all of this is, of course, forgetting that Crimea was stolen in the first place, and I'd like to see it returned. That's probably not a priority at this point. We are going to carry Zelensky's address to the EU in regards to this. It is a powerful address, and in fact, the translator broke down during the translation, but the Russians were given a chance to speak. We are going to carry that first. This is the Russian address, the Russian response to EU. And what you can see here, they are walking out. They don't want to hear it. That was earlier today as Russian diplomats addressed the European Union. That was following Zelensky's address. We are now going to carry his address. As I said, we do have a bit of a sound issue, so I manually have to switch over the sound on each of these. I'm switching that over now. And here we go.
It's a very tragic one for us. 2 cruise missiles hit Kharkiv, the city
I'm
which
going to boost the audio.
to the
Give me a sec.
borders of the Russian Federation. There were always many Russians there, and they're always friendly. There were warm relations there. More than 20 universities are there. It's the city that has the largest number of universities in our country. The youth is bright, smart there. The people who gathered there all the time and was gathering there all the time for celebrating all celebrations on the largest square in our country, the Freedom Square. And this is the largest square in Europe, and that's true. This is called the Freedom Square. Can you imagine this morning 2 cruise missiles hit this Freedom Square, dozens of killed ones. This is the price of freedom. We are fighting just for our land and for our freedom, despite the fact that all large cities of our country are now blocked. Nobody is going to enter and intervene with our freedom and country. And believe you me, every square of today, no matter what it's called, it's going to be called, as today, Freedom Square in every city of our country. Nobody's going to break us. We're strong. We're Ukrainians.
That was Zelensky addressing the EU upon being ostensibly granted a membership into the European Union. The Russians were permitted to speak afterwards, and the vast majority of the delegates cleared the room. What do we have? We're going to discuss the map in a minute. At this point, we believe this map is out of date. This is the most, it's liveuamap.com. We've been relying on it pretty heavily, and there is some more information off of this map I'd like to give. But we are now reasonably confident that this map is at least 4 or 5 hours late. There are elements of it that are accurate. The pins describing individual battles, we believe at present are accurate. The zones of control are not. I'll get into how and why we believe that, but unfortunately, they have not been updated, and there is greater Russian control than those maps are suggesting. Right now, this is an assessment. Actually, the part of this is a U.S. intelligence assessment. A larger part of it is Ukrainian assessment. So they obviously have a vested interest in inflated numbers. We've discussed this before. It's not a dig on them, but they're going to be giving the most inflated numbers they can, and none of these numbers we know for certain are accurate. But we believe these are as close as anyone can get at present. The Russian military losses as of today, we do believe it's credible that they've lost at least 5,000. That's been echoed by several different sources, but all of these are guesstimates, and even the best sources, including U.S. intelligence, is a guesstimate. We do believe, and we've spoken about this. There's almost certainly CIA on the ground ground. They're not engaging. They're probably just watching. We have to get independent intelligence somehow, and usually that's with agents on the ground. That I did forget to mention, and this is a bit of an aside. We talked about the 15, I think it was 15, 12 or 15, quote, diplomats that were expelled yesterday for engaging in spying. You may think that sounds horrific, and why would that happen? Well, so here's what the U.S. does. Here's what almost every country does. When the CIA wants to send a spy to another country, usually the way we do it is we give them diplomatic credentials, and we say they're a diplomat. Why? So that if they get caught spying, they have diplomatic immunity, and the most that can happen is they get ejected. So for the most part, 90% of spies are, quote, diplomats. So they do the same thing. We catch one of their spies spying. We can't really do much because they have diplomatic immunity. We kick them out. The ones that don't get diplomatic immunity, and this is, the non-official cover, those agents that are essentially disavowed before they even start, and if they get caught, we're just like, well, we never heard of these guys. We got no idea who they are. That's obviously the most dangerous work. That's not what was busted. These were spies. We probably knew they were spies, but we know every time we eject a whole bunch of them, they eject a whole bunch of us, and we just assume that we're getting better intelligence than they are, and so we let some of them operate on the assumption that they're going to let some of ours operate. The expulsion of the 12 probably anything we just discovered immediately right off the bat. It was, attachés. They're spies. So that's what's going on, and I've forgotten, so we'll put that into. So let's take a look at the map and see where we stand at this point. We've been trying to figure out why this column hasn't attacked yet, and as I said before, it looks like they're actually sabotaging some of their own equipment to slow down their progress. This is just more evidence reinforcing the notion that probably, with any luck, morale on the Russian side is extraordinarily low. We believe at this point most of them were told that this was just a training exercise and or that it was humanitarian aid to Donbass. Obviously, neither of which is true, and they figured that out reasonably quickly. So what, they're sitting there trying to figure out what to do. They don't want to be shooting at Ukrainians. They were lied to get here. And at this point, those that aren't surrendering, which is happening, it's a small number, but it is happening. We showed footage of that earlier. Those that aren't surrendering are trying to find ways to slow down progress in and of itself. Obviously, Putin would not have calculated that into his mathematics. So with any luck, the longer this goes, the worse it gets for Putin, and the greater the likelihood that they're going to make it through this. This, by the way, was I forget the name of the city. This is the one that has now fallen. That was a home. You can see the other homes around it. This is another part of roughly that same area. Right now, they're just looking for survivors. This struck without warning. These are all civilian areas. Which I think pretty much goes without saying. This was we believe, a gas line explosion, possibly munitions. This is not the thermobaric attack. Like I said, we should have. I'm hoping if there's a mod that can drop that in the news sharing. I actually haven't checked, so if you have dropped it, I haven't had a chance to check. But and I'm like really sure it's in there somewhere, but I've lost track of the thread. I did want to put this, though. Let's see if I can get this in here easily. Let's see if we can get that to go up. Yeah. All right. Freedom Square is the area he was talking about. That's where the government buildings were. Now that's going to fight me. That's going to fight me. Let's see if I can still get that up anyway. I can get that up anyway. That's why this is probably shouldn't tell anyone this. I got enough issues with one of my favorite shows when I was a kid. About to see the nerd in me was MacGyver. I loved that as a kid. The Richard Dean Anderson one, not the reboot, obviously. And I did have a penchant for coming up with creative solutions to problems, so I was nicknamed Nickgyver. Was the old, and now actually there was a specific reason I brought that up, and I don't know why. I just gave away one of my dirty little secrets for nothing. That's the square Freedom Square that he was talking about. It's where the government building was attacked. We've also shown footage of just massive shelling. I want to show this one again. I've already shown it, but just because I think it shows most effectively what it is. This is a civilian area. There's no reason for this, to the best of my knowledge. They've been asked what... Yep, thank you, that was Kherson. That's what it was. Thank you. Thank you, Katsumi. It was, that was Kherson. That was it. This is from the BBC. It's been confirmed. This is shelling of an entirely civilian area. The goal here, as we said before, Putin is facing a number of issues. If he was able to do this in about 2 or 3 days, which we believe was his original goal, the oligarchs would have been a little ticked at him, but they're expecting results, and if he got results, they'd be reasonably happy with it. Probably there wouldn't be too much we could do. NATO wouldn't go to war over it. He'd take it, and it would be just like taking Crimea. But this has taken longer than he expected, and it's giving time for the West to react. Sanctions are hitting the oligarchs, which is what he needs the most right now, and he's losing them rapidly. They would be willing to kill him with their bare hands. Some of them have already killed people with their bare hands. Putin's killed people with his bare hands. This isn't, a nice crew, and he's in bed with them not because he likes them, and they're in bed with him not because they like him, but because it's mutually beneficial. The second that stops, there will be regime change, and in Russia, regime change isn't done by vote. So I think the chances that he is going to be assassinated is going up reasonably quickly, and he knows that. They won't tolerate this kind of thing for any extended period of time. Sanctions have grown. Interestingly, we have not sanctioned the oil, and we've talked about this briefly. There is still actually oil coming out of, we stopped the new pipelines from being made, but there is still oil coming out of there. They are having a difficult time with that because without the SWIFT network, they can't as easily convert that into a currency that they can use, any kind of hard currency that is insulated against the sanctions. They can do it, but it takes longer. So they're having significant financial difficulties. This gets to another point that I did want to bring up. We are at this point trying to do to them what we successfully did to the Soviet Union, and I think many people don't understand the collapse of the Soviet Union. That was a absolutely brilliant move. I don't think it was Ronald Reagan himself who did it, but he was president at the time. He authorized it, and he seemed to have some idea of what he was doing. We allowed the gap between Russians and U.S. missiles to grow, and we realized that their economy would not be able to keep up a war engine as long as ours. And if we could, in fact, get them to speed theirs up while making it look like we were being competitive and just keep them ahead of us, they would eventually spend themselves to death, which is what they did. Their economy completely collapsed and they could no longer function. This is what we are attempting to do to Russia right now. It was going to cause tremendous suffering in the civilian population. There may be food shortages. I don't see any reason not to expect that. There's certainly shortages of goods, and the ruble is almost worthless. But at this point, it's the only way to get them to stop. So that's what we're doing, is we're actually trying to destroy them economically. And at this point, I think it appears from where I'm sitting that it's a legit effort to threaten the existence of Russia as it exists today, in the same way that the Soviet Union was threatened and ultimately destroyed. Putin has to see that, and he doesn't have the money to inject into the economy. The central bank has just lost the ability to inject most of this money into the economy. The other thing we failed to mention when discussing the economic show is that, I think we did mention at least part of this. Putin has said that now people are going to be required to divest themselves of foreign monies. The reason he's doing this is because even though those foreign monies are stable and it's going to protect those people to keep the foreign monies, the problem is he needs people to be buying rubles. People have to buy rubles. He has to prop up the value of the ruble. So he's forcing them to do it. And nobody is pleased with that, because now everybody's having to bleed in order to try to prop up this economy that's going to fail. I don't think there's any stopping it. I think the only stopping it is to release the sanctions. Putin has to realize at this point, even if he wins, those sanctions aren't, especially if he wins, those sanctions aren't going anywhere. So I don't know he's got a very serious problem, but he has to have a win. We believe that's one reason he's been targeting civilians. He wants to break them. He wants to break their spirit. He's not breaking their military. If he can't get them to surrender, he's in very big trouble. And I think he's thinking after they surrender, he's going to spin it as, well, they were really, it was a little resistance. It was exaggerated. We did them a favor, which was essentially what he was setting up for. We also know that he's been planning this for a lot longer than we thought. A number of apartments in Kharkiv had been rented out to what we now understand to be counterinsurgents who had been there ahead of time. So one of the things that we had talked about, and a lot of people had talked about, they didn't believe he'd be going for the entire country. Once he went after Odessa, we realized he was. Odessa is a staging area that is west of the river. Because it's west of the river, there's no reason for him to take it, none whatsoever, if he's going to stop at the river. He can't use it unless he goes past the river, and he has to go about halfway past it. Then he may need it. Otherwise, just destroy it. There's no point taking it, cause more lives, and you don't, unless you need it. So he was always planning on taking the entire country. He had, for I believe it was at least 3 months prior, there were agents purchasing, renting properties, at least in Kharkiv. At this point, we suspect in Kiev as well. And they were there to be counterinsurgents. They were going to get the lay of the land. They were going to learn how the insurgency was operating, and then tip off the Russian military, and they were going to kill them all. So he actually did have a plan for holding this that did not necessarily involve relying solely on the military. He had been gathering intelligence. We knew he had gathered intelligence ahead of time, including a survey on what the Ukrainians thought of their government. The vast majority of them expressed dissatisfaction with their government. He mistook this. He appears to have thought that what they meant was, well, we hate living in freedom, and we hate voting voting kind of sucks, and in the U.S., less than half of us even bother to do it. So we kind of hate freedom, so we'd love to have the Russians back. No, what they meant was, they weren't huge fans of their president. It's rare that presidential approval ratings are all that high. He mistook dissatisfaction with the current administration for dissatisfaction with the entire system. I think he did think that they'd be greeted largely as liberators, and that obviously has not happened. So, and he's been using mercenaries. What is it? I forget the name of it was mostly mercenaries that were in there. There's still, I think it was 300 mercenaries in Kharkiv right now. The Ukrainian government is saying that the goal of those mercenaries is to assassinate the president and, quote, decapitate the civilian government. Our intelligence says that that's unlikely. That mercenary organization is in fact under investigation for war crimes and has been sanctioned by the U.S. for war crimes. They'd probably be willing to do it. Problem is, Putin has professional assassins on hand. Wagner Group, that's right. Thank you. That's correct. Both of you, thank you. He has assassins on hand to do this, and he has people who are trained specifically to do this. That's not their area of expertise. Their area of expertise is counterinsurgency, and we've been looking at some of the documentation on how one would run a counterinsurgency, and it looks like that's what they were doing. You can find all this on our Discord. If you want to join us on our Discord, see the information as we're getting it and see the discussions we're having, please do. That's one reason we've got it. So Discord link will probably drop in a minute. Should be a current link in the description, but these things change so quickly. Updating the Discord link is one of the ones that falls by the wayside. And I'll blame the war for that. Realistically speaking, I get kind of behind on that on occasion. So where are we? When this happened, we saw them coming through Crimea and heading north and northeast. The reason is because there's the Donbas region over here, and that is considered their area of control, although to the best of my knowledge, they still haven't even invaded it. It's their zone of control because it's rebels, and the rebels were very effective at getting civilians out. Essentially, it's rebels and some of the Ukrainian government. They got bigger problems on their hands right now, the Ukrainian military, but they haven't actually tried to expand out of that area, and there hasn't been a significant movement of troops from there. Ostensibly, the reason is because the supplies for that area weren't behind them. The supplies were southwest of them. The supplies are in Crimea. We do know that they've been they've been propping up, they had been dropping off. One of the things about this is, one of the reasons they wanted Crimea so badly is because it's perfectly placed for supply vis-a-vis the waterways. So they have been supplying, and their field hospital was deployed there, and all the supplies for the eastern half of the war are down there. But the problem is, this assumed that they would be able to connect these two regions and have control and be able to have a secure road from which to send those supplies. They have failed to do so even now, at least according to this map. We believe this is out of date. We believe that connection's been made. There are multiple credible sources that say that, yes, they now have been able to, within the last couple of hours, been able to connect the Crimea area with the Donbass. What this shows is that the Ukrainians are losing. It's slow, and they're winning in other areas. They seem to be winning in the political region, in the economic region. They are starting to win, and it will accelerate. Morale is failing, so it seems like, depending on how you measure it, maybe they are winning, maybe they're, because if they can hold out, it looks like every second that passes is better for them, but they're losing territory, and they can't keep this up forever. But if anyone can, it's Ukrainians, but that's what we're looking at. So let's take a look at the biggest hotspots now. A number of towns have been, and this map unfortunately is not updating very rapidly. I suspect, at least in part, that's due to this becoming one of the most popular maps on the planet right now. A lot of people are using this service. It seems to be an excellent service. This is Kiev. You can see that a convoy tried to get around. The convoy was destroyed here last night. You should be able to see the mouse on this map, and I'm circling it. It's this blue area right there. There was a battle there. It destroyed a convoy that was trying to encircle the city. But right now, this is the 40-mile-long column, and it's basically sitting there. The reports are it's moving, but 12 hours ago, it was, a little less than 12 hours ago, 9 hours ago, it was 10 miles out, and it still hasn't arrived. So is it harassment? That's what people are saying. I don't see any evidence for that, and that area is largely Russian-controlled. We don't know. We do know that the Russians still do not have air superiority. They're close. The Ukrainian Air Force is obviously in extremely bad trouble, but they've been resupplied now. They have new planes, and I don't know how many pilots they got. Nobody knows. I don't want to know, because if I know, then that means the Russians know. But it is true that the airspace is still contested, and by this point, they were supposed to get the airspace under control in 12 hours. And they had said that they had destroyed all of the air defenses, all of the air bases, and all of the aircraft destroyed, still sitting on the ground. That turns out not to have been true, as they have learned. So that's Kiev. They're still about 10 miles out. From what I can tell, we don't know what's going to happen. It looks, and I'm hoping that we're not just hearing what we want to hear, but it looks like they don't want to fight. It looks like they're dragging this out, and that is nothing but the worst possible news for Putin. It's almost worse, actually, than losing, because it's still a loss, but it's a loss not because the other side was better than you, but because your guys don't want to fight for you. So we'll see. The reason he's targeting civilians again, at this point, I think a military victory. Believe it or not, as I said, yeah, they're actually winning. They're getting more land day by day, and they're absolutely destroying villages. But realistically speaking, I'm not sure how they have a military victory at this point. And the reason is because they don't have the fuel, they don't have the weapons. Our intelligence says that Putin was told it will take 2 months to get the military production up to the point where they can properly supply just the bullets for this campaign. It was thought they wouldn't be spending this kind of ammo, and they've gone through a great deal of their reserves. This was supposed to be a short campaign. They can produce bullets, but none of the machinery is up to war level of production. So getting that going is tough, and my suspicion is under the sanctions, it's even tougher. So no fuel, not a lot of food, and yeah. So he's trying to get a victory out of this before he gets assassinated, or I don't know what else happens at this point, because I don't think he's going to give up, and he said he's not going to give up. So I don't know how he gets out of this. But the good news is, right now, all they have to do is hold on. And they seem to show every intent of holding on. So if I were a betting man, I'd be betting on the Ukrainians right now, and I'd feel quite comfortable doing it. But it's gruesome and it's absolutely brutal up until then. And I wish we had something better to tell you. We don't. So that's where we stand. Again, my favorite footage, I think, is probably just walking out on the Russian delegation. Russians are not proud to be Russians right now, and that actually hurts Russians more. Every now and then I've been regaling our audience with stories of my trip to the Soviet Union. It was hard to eat over there because the food was not what we were used to, and we were actually at a what essentially one would call a summer camp in Siberia, Novosibirsk, actually. And the food there was I remember they said we were going to get chicken soup, and I said, well, you can't really screw up chicken soup. I'm looking forward to that. And you saw the pot, and the first thing I noticed, it was a big pot where they'd made the chicken soup, and I saw the chicken leg sticking out of it, just sticking out. I mean, it was just like... And I was like, that chicken soup is a little chickeny for my taste. And I look, and there was an inch layer of oil, probably the fat from the chicken, and the whole chicken body resting in the soup, some feathers still in there. They had mostly cleaned the bird off, but I was just like, I think, no offense, I'll go hungry, which is probably not a funny joke because there are people who obviously do. But that was, so we managed to get to McDonald's in Moscow. I bought enough food to last me a week, and it cost me less than $1. And we talked about why that was in our last show. But the line for that was, as I recall, more than 3 blocks long. And for them, that was sort of normal. And they still have long lines, even at the best in their economy. But I've been told time and time again, just go to the back of the line. Don't worry, you'll be eating in 5 minutes. I was like, there's no way that's true. And I don't want to cut, right? Like, they won't give you a choice. I was like, okay, we went to the back of the line. As soon as they heard us speaking English, there's no way Americans aren't going to... And it wasn't out of respect for us. It was out of respect for their own country. And they wanted to be good hosts, and they didn't want Americans to suffer the lines, in part because they didn't want the Americans to remember the line part. And they knew that that's what so we never waited for anything. And, we'd wait. There'd be a line for food, for bread, for whatever. And as soon as they heard us speaking English, they'd ask if we're Americans. And if you said yes, boom, front of the line, you're done. And that was actually pride in their own country. And they wanted us to get the best experience of it possible. And it wasn't even as hosts. It was just pride in their country. Russians have always had a huge pride in their country. The blow that this is doing to the average Russian citizen is pretty sharp. And again, understanding the mindset of Russians it's a different thing than Americans. And we have pride in our country too, but it's a different America. It's a different thing. So I'm cautiously optimistic that that's going to have a pretty significant impact on them, and they're going to. I think Putin's in extraordinarily big trouble, and I think that the likelihood is that these are the last weeks, maybe months of his regime in one way or another. Even if he finds a solution out of this that doesn't involve him getting the victim of regime change, they're going to find a way to get rid of him. The oligarchs at this point, he's too risky. If he had won, that would be one thing, but it's the results that matter, and these are the worst results they could have expected, and the oligarchs are losing money like crazy, and that's not what they pay this for. And by the way, nobody wants to live in Russia, not even the oligarchs. They live like kings in Russia, but they don't want to live like kings in Russia. They want to live like kings in every other country, and they've been able to do that until now. So we'll see. At any rate, thank you all for joining us, and I'm going to hit the live chat briefly. It seems like there's been let's play that. Let's play that. So we've learned a little bit more. Just to try to end on a high note. Thank you for bringing that up. So a Russian tank ran out of gasoline, and so they commandeered a tractor, and they decided that they were going to have the tractor pull the tank. They got it set up, but the driver of the tank had to get out and was busy, I guess, talking with whoever was shooting this footage. And this happened. This was the first part of it. Second And let's see actually I'm sorry, that's afterwards, so that's the wrong footage. It's close. Let's do this one here. The tractor guy just decided to take off, and without the driver of the tank. Now we believe at this point that he made a clean getaway. And brought that home to his wife, of which there is some. Yeah, sorry, that's that's on the audio. That's hard to stop. It's set up in such a way that the imports are all doing it. So we did have footage. I don't think we have it right now handy. We've got it on the Discord. Of there's a video of him coming home to his wife with that thing, ostensibly his wife. That's what it looks like to me. And she's just walking around, and he's just pulling up, and he's just sort of like, "Hey, look what I got." And she's just like, "Oh, is this not again?" Look, it was that, and I'm going to riff on this for a minute. I did it last night. I'm going to do it again just because I think this is great. Ukrainian police destroyed a tank, and but we don't have any details on it. But I have to believe it when something along the lines of, and this is. By the way, we don't have a source for this, so don't like get me. The last thing I need is trolls saying, could you please cite your sources for this? I don't have sources for this. This is in time super secret sources, which is the 7 voices in my head. There's more than 7, but all 7 agreed on this. So what I imagine must have happened is the police light up the tank. The tank's sitting there going, "Why are cops pulling me over? Are they kidding?" Ukrainian police officers get out. One of them goes up to the tank and goes, "Hey, how are you? Can I see your license and registration?" Tank guy's like, "I don't have registration for this vehicle." "Don't have registration for that vehicle?" "No, that's interesting. So just taking the tank out for a spin, huh? Is that it?" Well, no, officer. Yeah. Can I see your passport? Are you in this country legally, out of curiosity?" "No, officer. I'm part of an invasion force." "An invasion force? I'd heard about that in the news." "Well, son, I don't think you belong here. I don't suppose you want to, turn around while we're still in the mood to let you do that." No. I'm a soldier. I'm here to fight. In fact, I think you guys should surrender." "Oh, I should surrender, huh? Oh, well, listen, give me a minute." Officer leaves. 5 minutes later, we have breaking news that officers destroyed a tank outside of said village. That's my envisioning of the story. There may be a little embellishment to it. I hope nobody here minds. But at this point, I'll believe it if the Ukrainians. Holy shit. Yeah. Oh, dear Lord. Yeah. Well, even Fox News is walking back some of their. But Trump came out again today and praised Putin's genius. There's a guy who's been actually very friendly, and some discussion as to whether or not he's a troll. I actually don't think he is, because he seems reasonably fair. But a Trump fan. I worry. That was why we played that Romney video last time. I worry when conservatives who used to be fully aware, in fact, we used to blame Democrats for not being aware for just how fucking dangerous Putin is, are sitting there saying, well, we should look at the bright side of this guy. That's like saying we should look at the bright side of Adolf Hitler. I'm not fucking kidding, and that's not hyperbole. And this guy's trying to conquer Europe. That's what he's trying to do, and he's risking a world war to do it. He's risking your family to do it. Your family, my family. I don't think Trump should be going out and calling him a genius right about now, even if he thinks it's true, which I don't think Trump gets to opine on the intelligence of others. No. That's one of the most shameful things I've ever heard of a president doing. And I'm reasonably aware of Nixon and probably in terms of just shamefulness, worse, Clinton. No. I think he needs to get his credentials revoked at the upcoming Trump Presidential Library and Grill. Yeah, at any rate. So that's it. We're going to keep an eye on what's going on. We've been anticipating that column to hit for 2 days now, and they haven't. We're starting to understand why not. With any luck, they won't hit tonight. We expect that the shelling is going to continue to get worse. We realize at this point that Putin's fully aware. Everybody knows what he's doing. He's going to get wiped out if he doesn't win this anyway. I don't think he knows how he's going to win, but he figures best to plow forward and hope that a solution presents itself. I don't think one's going to. So the question is how many lives are lost before there's a solution found to this, whatever that solution is. So I think What that means is we're going to see, unfortunately, some more shelling tonight, more civilian casualties. We're going to keep an eye on it. If something big happens, breaking news. My hope is one of those thermoaerobic. Oh, Jesus, I keep forgetting my brain. I don't know. The thermobaric. Thank you, thermobaric. Moms, Jesus, I really pray something like that does not get deployed in a civilian area. I did check. It is a violation of the Geneva Conventions, at least to use those anywhere near any civilians. My understanding was it's even in a military base. It is considered, whether you agree or not, the Moab. My understanding, Moab is a stronger weapon, but it's considered a deadlier weapon and a worse weapon than Moab, in particular because of just how it works. So the so-called vacuum bomb. And at this point, we believe it's credible that at least 2 have been deployed. And one, we still don't know what it hit. The second one was ostensibly a military base killing 80 soldiers, which is an extraordinarily small number for what that thing does. So if any of those gets deployed in a civilian area, and what the likelihood, I have no idea. I guarantee you it's not 0. My hope is it's not over 50%, but I don't know anymore. And the gloves are off with him. So really, it's going to be up to whether the military commanders are willing to do it. If he orders it, which he may not. I don't know. We'll see. We'll stay on it. We will go live. Like and subscribe. The only way to really know that we're going live is to hit the bell, and YouTube's making it harder and harder and harder now. It's not only hit the bell, but go subscribe to all notifications, yada, 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 and you'll know when we're going live. As soon as we have something that's worth your time and attention, we'll go with it. If it's just, hey, the shelling's increased, we probably won't, because that's what we're expecting. So my hope is we're not going to see each other until tomorrow night, 9 p.m., when we're going to do our regular coverage of Ukraine. We're going to keep that up until we know what's going on. Biden is speaking tonight. He's giving his State of the Union. Would like to cover that. Would like to cover a number of things. There is one other, actually, there is one more rundown of news I'm going to quickly hit before we go. So those of you who stuck around instead of just bailing, Nick's wrapping it up, we'll give you a little reward here. Because I did forget to do one other rundown list of a few things that I wanted to hit. Oh, Jesus, yeah. So at this point, the hospitals are mostly evacuating because they're aware that they're going to get targeted. At least the assumption is they're going to get targeted. The maternity ward of one hospital has been moved into a bomb shelter, and the bomb shelter has been evacuated for everything except anything pertaining to a maternity ward. They need the entire shelter just to house a maternity ward, and infants are basically being born in a bomb shelter, and that's the best they can do and try to keep everyone alive. Yeah, let's see. Russian troops have landed at the Kharkiv, and I forgot to mention this. So it's getting bad and it's getting worse. It looks like paratroopers landed at Kharkiv Medical Military Clinical Center, so they're taking a military hospital. There is last from when is that? About 90 minutes ago, last we heard there was extensive fighting over the hospital. It's a military hospital, so as much as I hate to say it, I do understand it as a target, and if they can stick to military hospitals, I'm still going to hate them forever, but hate them a little less. Ukrainian military intelligence is saying that Belarus is preparing to actively engage. That's what we were told yesterday. Still hasn't happened. I'm surprised. I'm expecting it will happen, but we heard this yesterday too, so take it with a grain of salt. Local government body in Moscow's Graginsky district has called on Putin to withdraw troops from Ukraine, calling it a disaster, which is leading to the impoverishment of the country. He means Russia. Putin is actively being called out now publicly, which usually is a death sentence. People are feeling they can do it, and people are feeling compelled to do it. I think that's a good sign. ExxonMobil has pulled out of all agreements with any Russian oil. They're following BP that appears to have had like a $28 billion write-off just to do that. They just canceled the deal. Rather large investment loss to them. They're doing it. I'm not going to sit there and say the company is being. I mean, there's also motives, and but at least it's happening. And let's see, that's it. I think that's the biggest that we've got right now. Yeah, that's the airstrike on the Kharkiv military school. We showed that already. So it's about as bad as you can get in a modern city. These are modern cities. These are industrialized cities, and we've covered war before. It's never fun. It's always hard. But these are civilians being targeted, and again, the U.S. has done that on occasion. Every country has, unfortunately, to the best of my understanding. But this is of a scope and breadth that we've never seen before. So we're going to keep an eye on it. Like I said, we'll let you know if anything spectacular comes up. What we're looking for now is any kind of catastrophic detonation, either in Kharkiv or in Kiev. We believe Kiev, they're preparing for an attack on Kiev, but they've been preparing that attack now for 2 days, and they've been unable to even have enough fuel to get everything there that we can tell. So we'll see. Like I said, I think this map is wrong. At this point, we do believe that they have completed their first strategic goal. For the area has been completed, we do believe that they have actually joined these two regions. And if they have, that represents a goal that was supposed to be completed at this point 5 days and 12 hours ago. So we'll see. Thank you all for joining us. Like I said, come in and join the Discord. I'll be around. I've been popping into VC as often as I can. A lot of people have. We've been chatting about this and other topics. We are not solely a Ukrainian channel, although for the next foreseeable future we will be. So thank you all very much for your time. Look forward to having a show on another topic. But that will come. I get to sit in this chair and talk. I guarantee you I'm not giving up any time before people are facing guns. So we'll keep doing these shows. Thank you to those of you who've been supporting us, and especially to the mods, who without which we would have ground to a halt a long time ago. Thank you all. Look forward to hopefully not seeing you until tomorrow, 9 p.m. Good night.